Welcome back to the Timbo Slice podcast featuring Jordan. This is episode 7. Good job making it this far.
That's right. Unfortunately, we don't have another guest today, but it's okay because Jordan is still the most interesting man in the world, and so he'll give us plenty to talk about.
Yeah, me and the Dos Equis guy. Well, and we can't really blame any of the people that you may or may not have asked to be guests, because who wants to follow in the footsteps of Kenneth Boo? I know I wouldn't want to.
It's a tough act to follow. So, first things first, you started your new job at Cricut, even though it's spelled Cricut. I would pronounce it Cricut. But anyway, Cricut. How is it? How are you liking the job? How is the company? Are they meeting expectations for you? Let's hear it all, Jordan.
Okay, so I have 3 days under my belt now, and my impression so far is very positive. I'll start with a review of orientation. So in a lot of ways, it was an average orientation, but there are little things that make it stand out, right? And I think that's common of lots of things in life, that it's the little things that make it special. So let's start with first impression of first day. So I'd already interviewed, right? And I'd met some people through that, and they'd given me a tour of the building during the interviews as well. But when I got to the lobby of this building, and Cricut doesn't have all the floors. They have, I think, part of the second, all of the third, all of the fourth. And the first floor, I'm not sure what's there. There's a restaurant there. And then there's a shared receptionist that sits there. But anyway, when I got there, there were already several people from the company, some of them HR, some of them not HR, to greet the new hires, right? So it wasn't just the new hires waiting in the lobby for people to come and get them for 10 minutes. There were already people from the company there to meet you the first day, right?
That's interesting.
So, yeah, it gives you the impression of you're a big deal or you're special, right? People like that. People like it when you stroke their ego. Another thing that I noticed, so the third floor is where we had our orientation. And just inside of the door, so there's kind of an atrium with the elevators, and then there's glass doors so you can get into the actual office space from there. There was a little sign like you'd see outside of a restaurant. It's one of those ones you can fold up. You see lots of them that are caution, wet floor. It's an A sign.
Yeah. And
it was a chalkboard, and it had all of our names on it, the 5 of us that were starting. And I thought that was a nice touch. And then at my desk, when I got there, you know how in hotels, in your room, there's a bottle of water and there's some Ritz crackers or whatever. There's some snacks on the dresser there with the tables. It was like that at my desk. There are 3 bottles of water. There's a Rice Krispie treat. There's a pack of mini Oreos and a few other things, right? So I get to my desk and it's kind of like checking into a hotel. The first thing that we went over in orientation for 3 hours, which was kind of long. I think it was a little too long. But the intention was good. We talked about culture and the company values. And a thing that I really liked about it was that it was the chief legal counsel of the company. And he said, he was very candid up front about, we know that we don't live these values perfectly, but we're trying. So please don't be disillusioned. If you see us living beneath what we've stated as our goals here, just start conversations about it, right? Because these are the ideals. These are what we want to be, even if we're not that all the time.
Right, and honestly, if you had perfectly met them, then you probably need tougher ideals, right? You don't want to be complacent, right?
That's right.
So yeah, I think that's totally fair. Go on.
That's right. Company goal number 1: no sexual harassment. We're doing fantastic on that one. The first thing that we talked about was just the values. So they call them values and mantras. But they're all kind of in that same category of these are the governing ideas of the business that we're trying to run here. And he told some stories from his own life and some stories about the CEO that were really interesting. So the CEO of Cricut, his name is Ashish, and I don't know his last name. But he's one of those impressive leader, celebrity type people. I mean, he's not a celebrity, but, known by everybody in the company. That's really down to earth and is always mingling with the ordinary people. So he's like a Tom Hanks of CEOs. Tom Hanks, I think, has a reputation for being really approachable and being glad to meet and greet anybody on the street and talk to them.
Not treating them like they're inferior or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's
Good.
not super highly protective of his personal space when he's out in public. So, the stories that they told about him made him seem like one of those people. So I understand, like right now, the past 3 days, he's been on a meet and greet somewhere in, I don't know, somewhere in the country. I'm not sure. The main, like the customer base, the demographic for Cricut's products are women. And I don't know what the age range on that is. I imagine it's all ages, right?
Yeah.
Like teenagers through senior citizens. And he meets lots of them, and, they'll tell him his stories of, I made all these decorations for my sister's wedding. It's so awesome. And he'll email those to all the employees. Or he'll meet somebody else, like maybe they served in the military and they were deployed and they have PTSD. And, crafting really helps them to center and be normal while they're crafting. He'll send out stories about that. So I've not met the guy yet, but I'm told, and we'll see, right, in the future, I'm sure we'll talk about this in the podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone's supposed to read Pat Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team before their first day at the company. And the CEO himself will ask you at some point in your first month or whenever if you have read the book. Like, you'll have a short conversation about it. I imagine as part of him introducing himself. So, I've not met him yet, and I don't think I'll ever work with him super closely.
Mm-hmm.
But, the first impression is strongly positive. Let me think if there's anything else. So I've never been in a place where I felt like there was a strong culture of people looking out for themselves and competition, and I can't help you because that will give you an advantage over me and then I won't get promoted. I don't think I've ever been in an environment where there was a strong current of that, and Cricut seems to have the opposite so far. Or in other words, like it feels like the ideas of the culture have gotten to the people on the front line, like they're real values, they're things that people think about. If not that, then they're really careful about the people that they bring on board, and they're just helpful, welcoming, friendly people. So first or second day, 2 people that weren't on my team, they just sit near me, introduced themselves. I met yesterday one of the database administrators, and he seemed more helpful than your average database administrator is. And nice. Not because they're like antisocial or anything, just those people generally have a heavy workload.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of stuff going on, so it's not that they don't want to help you.
And it's usually not directly related to what other people are doing, right? It's kind of like its own little world almost, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's lots of work that they do that won't cross over with yours. But, he told me I needed him to add some permission to my user. And he did it, and he told me, like, if it doesn't work, just come right back and we'll fix it, right? Instead of not saying that and hoping that I wouldn't come back. Mm-hmm. It gave me the impression, right, that if I did need something else, that I could come right back and I wouldn't be a bother to him.
Yeah.
So just that general feeling, I've gotten from everybody that I've met working there.
So you mentioned when you were interviewing that you were impressed with at least one interviewer's focus on leadership and like the kind of like the library of books she had and the way she talked about it, I guess. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I didn't study her library books closely. I didn't even read any of the titles. I just saw them out of the corner of my eye. But she told me that what's Liz Wiseman, Multipliers was on the shelf there. She's the lead recruiter, so I imagine, I'm sure there's a spectrum, even inside Cricut, of subscription levels to the company values. I'm sure that's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You have people that are more invested in them, and you've also got people that are, this is just a job, and those are all great sounding words. I'm just going to try and be nice and polite, and I think that's good enough. So someone in her position, kind of has to be on the end of being more invested in the values. But the impression I got of her was that that was just kind of her personality anyway. And I don't think she's been with the company horribly long either. She was with, I think, some sort of staffing company, that would find contractors for Xactware or ICS or wherever.
Yeah, like a third-party recruiter. Okay.
Mm-hmm. She was at a place like that. I think, so she told me this story, at least part of it, like the way that she came to Cricut is I think she contacted someone at Cricut. She was trying to fill a firmware position at some company, either in Salt Lake or Utah County, I'm not sure. And they said something to her about maybe she would be interested in coming to Cricut, so she checked it out.
Dude, they reverse recruited her?
That was my understanding of the story she was telling me.
Nice.
So she was really impressed by that. So the feeling I got of her was that it wasn't that she adopted these kind of values after she came to Cricut, but that they were kind of already similar to the values that she had, and that's what attracted her to the company. And one of the things she said to me, which was just to illustrate that candor is important to them, and also team and culture, she said her first impression of me when I came into the office was that maybe I was an arrogant person or unapproachable. And she told me that, right? After maybe 10 or 15 minutes, she asked some initial questions and I answered them and we were talking. And the reason she told me that was just so that I could be aware of it. And, just, I guess, stop anybody from mistakenly having that impression of me.
Did she tell you what specifically led her to that?
No, she didn't.
Oh, that's too bad.
But I've had other people tell me, so it might be my posture, body language, I'm not sure. But I've had other people tell me that I'm difficult to read. So maybe that was just it, right? Like she didn't really know how to interpret me when I first came in. So she just made a quick guess.
It's possible.
And then, after talking for a little while, she discovered that she'd guessed wrongly. We talked about that. We talked about a prior experience I'd had here at Xactware too. So it was involving Dave Luce.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. that time when he had to reprimand me severely. Dave didn't know me very well. He probably didn't know anyone that worked here very well. I mean, maybe his peers, right? The people that were at the same level of management. Mm-hmm. So when that thing went wrong, that big feature for the big insurance carrier, he was just making assumptions about why it had happened. And his assumptions were that I hadn't cared and that quality wasn't important to me. And I think part of the reason he came to that is a number of our memorable interactions, right? Like memorable to him because it was high stress, or when he was coming over to tell me about how this big insurance carrier was reacting negatively to this bug that I'd been responsible for. And I think he wanted me to be like him because he was a little bit vulgar and he was visibly agitated, right? Mm-hmm. Like obviously upset.
Yeah.
You might even said he'd lost his composure a little bit.
That is probably his biggest defining trait is that he's not good at maintaining his composure.
Yeah,
so I would agree with that.
Not to the point of being alarming, but definitely to the point of this is not seeming that professional anymore. Mm-hmm. So, and I didn't respond that way, right?
Yeah.
I was like, you're right, this is a problem. Let me get on this and fix it right away, right? Which I think he wanted me to have more of an emotional reaction like him. So because I was all, let's solve this problem, and not empathizing like, oh, you're right, this is horrible, how could I let this happen, I really let you down, right? I think that's what he wanted me to say, things like that. That wasn't my perception at all. I mean, yeah, I don't want to tell stories of blame or anything, but I think his not understanding who I was as a person is just, that was one of the things that led to this whole problem, right? Mm-hmm. Like he just wasn't aware enough of the people or the projects that he was supposed to be responsible for. He just wasn't invested enough in them. So, when something bad happened, It needed to look like he was on top of things and he had to say something to me, right? We had to have some sort of conversation. And I think if he had understood me as a person, we could have had a great constructive conversation and he would have understood, the real story of everything that went into that. But as it was, he just made an assumption and gave me the severe reprimand. And I mean, he still doesn't know, right?
Right.
Because after you have an interaction with a person like that, then you're all defense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Say as little as possible, interact as little as possible, stay away from this person.
Right.
Is what you're going to do. So, that's just one example of experiences I've had. I'll tell another one. So when I was at the U, I was in a situation where I really needed to get a job. So I was in a master's program, their game-centric master's program. So I was kind of doing a software thing, but I didn't really know much about software engineering or computer science at all. I just needed to find a job. It was time to find one. So I went in to talk to a career counselor, and he confronted me maybe like 5 or 10 minutes into our first discussion, saying that just trying to remember how he phrased it, that maybe I seemed defensive or antagonistic, or that I didn't want to be there or something, which, I mean, he should have asked and just saying, you seem this way. So you should have said something like,
right.
Is this how you're feeling? Like, it feels like you don't think I can help you or something like that, right? But he stated it more strongly than that. It wasn't, do I understand?
Yeah, it was here's my conclusion and I'm right kind of statement.
Yeah, it was It was closer to that side. But that wasn't what I'd been thinking at all, right? So here I am in a situation where I'm reaching out to another person for help. So really it's more of a kind of a humiliating situation, right? I'm saying that I can't do this by myself, so I'm reaching out to somebody else. And so I'm sure, that there was some of that in the way that I was communicating with him. But he just misinterpreted it, right? So those are a few examples of times when people haven't read me correctly. And so, she told me that, and then it just made sense with these earlier experiences that I'd had. And, that I think is, that illustrates leadership, right, on her part, right? Saying, I can see this in you, right? Like, I didn't know how to read you. Mm-hmm. And I gave it some time, right? Like, I asked you some questions and we spoke for a while, but other people might not do that.
Right.
They might just make assumptions.
I think the average person, won't do that.
Yeah, so if you can watch out for that, you'll be more successful here, right? So it wasn't criticism or anything. It was just something for me to be mindful of, which I think is helpful.
Yeah.
So,
I really don't know what she could have been referring to, though, which is why it's too bad she didn't give you specifics.
Yeah.
But
maybe it's because I was leaned back in my chair. I'm not sure.
I don't know. That doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah. So I don't know either. Because, so if someone is giving a presentation, right, and your eyes are on your laptop or you've got your feet on the table or whatever, that's kind of like I'm about to fall asleep.
Yeah.
But in a conversation, right, it's not like I have important information to give you right now and I really need to tell that you're focused. This was more, right, like getting to know each other. So I'm not entirely sure either.
Okay. So do you feel like what you've seen of the company so far suggests that many of the leaders are more like her, or have you not gotten okay?
Yeah, I have seen that. So, like, as far as executive level leadership, right? I've heard stories about the CEO, and then I was in orientation with the chief legal counsel, and then I've met her. And from what the chief... So here's a couple more stories, right? So all I have really at this point are stories. Like I haven't seen stuff unfolding
Right.
in real time. One of the stories that the chief legal counsel told was it was either, so I think it was someone in middle level management. It was known that they were being too harsh or not respectful enough to one of their reports, and the CEO found out about it. Actually, he didn't find out about it. So the chief legal counsel had heard about it, and he just mentioned it in passing to the CEO, and he just lasered in on that right away and said, we have to do something about this right away. And he says after that phone call, like the CEO called him back 10 minutes later and said, okay, I'm still not done talking about this. I have to vent a little bit. So, from that story, it's really important to the CEO that people are treated with respect at all levels of the company, and that everyone feels safe sharing their ideas, and it bothers him if it's not that way. So, so just another thing, he seems like one of those people where he doesn't let business get in the way of being a good person, and that's why he's so successful.
Right.
Cricket was really struggling, I think, 2012, when he came in. The chief legal counsel said that he'd been on the phone with people on the East Coast talking about potential bankruptcy, right? So as the current CEO, Ashish is coming in. That's kind of the situation the company's in. And they're doing fantastic right now. From what I understand, that was a turning point. So my boss's boss, he started, I think, around the same time, 7 years ago, 2012. And he said it was really uncertain. He didn't know if he was going to have a job, the next day, if the company was going to be shuttered or whatever. And he said that things have turned around significantly since then. And they're growing really fast right now. And there was one other story. Trying to remember. Oh, just a discussion that they've had. So their policy right now with new hires is every new hire will get sent a Cricut Maker machine. And then there's this product called an Easy Press 2. It's for ironing decals onto shirts. But it's designed specifically for that, right? Like an iron is for pressing clothing.
Right.
Whereas that's not exactly what you're after when you're trying to put a decal on a shirt. You want even temperature over probably a larger area.
Right.
So they send those two products to every new hire. And I'm told when chief legal counsel first had this idea, the CEO said, well, you're like Bernie Sanders. You want to give everything away. And there was some conflict over that. Like part of the problem in the past, I think, I'm not privy to the full context, is that they were spending money like Adomo or like one of these other places, right? Where you pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
You buy every meal for everyone. It's just really extravagant, all the perks that you try and lavish on your employees. So I think Cricut has tried to pull back from that and not to be that anymore. And I think that's why there was this discussion, about being Bernie Sanders. And he also told us that he has told the CEO that he's kind of like President Trump in that he'll go on social media and he'll say stuff, right? Which the chief legal counsel doesn't think he should say. Not controversial, but I think like promising things or just, just positive stuff, like saying stuff that the chief legal counsel thinks he might not be able to deliver on. So anyway, just from that, right, it sounds like among themselves, they've got this environment where they can disagree about things, and they want that to exist through all the levels in the company as well. So once again, right, that's not something that I've experienced personally, but it seems like it's real just from the interactions that I've had with my boss and the people that are on my team.
I hope it is. It sounds a lot different. What I'm used to is I'm used to having senior leadership, especially executive leadership, that talks a big game but doesn't really do anything. You know what I mean? Like for example, like if there were a problem, like you said, like there's a middle manager that's not managing an employee well. If that got up to senior leadership, I don't think it would end well. I think, I'm not sure exactly what would happen, but based on what I've experienced, I would say my two predictions would be either if it was the employee that was being mistreated that reported it, they would probably be thrown under the bus for going like around the chain of command to try to resolve an issue with their manager. I think they would get smacked down for trying to do that. The other thing that I can see happening is if this scenario were the same, where like a different senior leader had mentioned it in passing and it didn't bubble up from the affected individual, I can see the senior leadership saying like, oh yeah, we really want, I can see him saying the same idea, like we really want everyone, we want an environment where everyone can speak their mind and share their opinions and share ideas, but then not actually do anything about it, and even continue practices or policies or systems that actively inhibit that. That's just my experience. Like, they're not really worrying about it or thinking about it or taking an active part in creating that environment. But if someone asks them, is that the environment you want? Oh, sure. Yeah, I want that. Of course. Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But are you really creating that environment and cognizant of what you're doing that helps or hinders it? Probably not. And that's my experience. It's very uncommon for you to have a company that is actually moving towards the ideal that they say they want.
Stephen A. made that comment as well. I've stayed in contact with him.
Nice.
He's at Amazon now. And he said, so when I told him that I was going to Cricut, I guess he'd Googled them or looked up their values or whatever. And said that a lot of them were similar to the Amazon values. And he had been pleasantly surprised that those kind of things at Amazon get talked about every day, and that they influence the decision-making process, and that they really try to live by what they say the values are. And he's worked at more than just Exactware.
Yeah.
Right. And he said the same thing, that my general experience has been that these are just lofty words on the wall, and nobody is thinking about them as they go about their job.
Yeah. It's definitely my experience too.
Scott Allen presented at Open West 2 years ago, and this is the Scott Allen who started Ancestry.com.
Okay.
And one of the things that he said, like his current focus, I don't know if he runs like a leadership consulting company or what, but his current emphasis is on strengths, like finding what people's strengths are, right? And then leveraging those instead of focusing on what they're not good at. One of the things he said in his presentation is like 1 or 2 in 10 people is just inherently a decent manager, right? They can figure it out on their own. And then there's like another 1 or 2 more where you can teach them to be a good leader manager. And then there's like 50% of the population where for them it is an uphill battle. Like being a good leader or a manager just goes against their natural tendencies, and it's difficult for them to do. And it seems like anecdotally or experientially true, I think, for lots of people in the workforce.
Yeah, for sure.
Whose managers, if they're not difficult to work with, they're not that inspiring either.
Yeah, it surprises me that people don't, or at least organizations don't focus on this more, because from what I have observed, as soon as you are lax on picking a good leader, you've let a not so good leader into the leadership pool, and they're more likely than a good leader to pick another bad leader, right? Because, for example, let's say you get a guy who gets promoted because he's a great QA analyst, a great developer, whatever. He's great at doing his technical task, and so they say, okay, we need a leader, and he's the best at doing his technical job, and leadership is a promotion, so he's the most deserving of a promotion, so let's put him there. Even if he's one of those, let's say 50% that probably isn't cut out for leadership and probably doesn't even want it, but he wants the money or so. They're saying, like the money, the prestige, the upward momentum, whatever. So this person takes that job. How good is that person who maybe doesn't even want to be a leader or doesn't know how to be a leader and isn't cut out to be a leader, how good are they going to be at preparing the next generation of leaders, choosing the next generation of leaders? I would say not at all. At least not nearly as good as you would get from somebody who is invested in that, who is, naturally a good fit for it, and who wants to do well, right? I think the desire to do well can make up for and probably exceed a lot of natural talent or aptitude. Just wanting to do well. Like, you can take somebody who's great, but they don't care. Like, what are you going to get out of them? Probably nothing, right? So, you get a person like that in leadership, and then they fail to prepare the next generation of leaders, or fail to select the next generation of leaders effectively. And then that can start perpetuating the problem, especially if then they continue to move up in rank, right?
Yeah.
They move up, and then pretty soon they have like a whole hierarchy under them that has ineffective leadership.
Right.
And if they make it to the upper echelons of leadership, senior leadership, executive leadership, then that can permeate the entire company after that. And it's very hard to recover from, because the problem is problem solving, especially within an organization, typically requires good leadership. And so how do you solve the problem of having an organization full of bad leaders? That's not an easy thing to do.
Nope.
So it surprises me that not a lot of people have that same concern that I do when I think about leadership. Like, man, like, we need to make sure that people are being prepared for leadership, that the right people are being chosen for leadership, that people are being chosen for the right reasons, that people who are or bad leaders, or even toxic leaders, or who are even liabilities to the company in their leadership positions, need to be removed, reassigned, whatever. Like, I don't feel like anybody really cares about that other than me sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I used to talk to you about this a lot when you were still working here, and yeah, you're on board with it. I know there's some other people that I talk to that agree with me, but like, it seems like if I were running a company, that would be one of my number one concerns. Like, we need to make this a healthy, functioning organization, and we can't let it either stagnate or become corrupted or contaminate or whatever, with the wrong people in the wrong place, right? But I don't feel like anyone in senior leadership at the places I've worked have really cared about that, or even thought about it. That's my impression.
Yeah, I think one of the obstacles is just being comfortable, because maybe you were a first mover in a market, right?
Yeah.
Like Xactware was. They made this insurance claim software when there was nobody making this. And then they just got themselves into a situation where they could be complacent.
Yeah.
And I think there are other places like that too. So if there isn't a real tangible need for results, right?
Right.
And there are lots of places where there isn't an immediate tangible need for results, then it's easy to be complacent and you don't even worry about it.
Yeah,
that's one of the issues I took with the 5 Dysfunctions book. Like, he says the first thing that you need to have is people need to feel like they can be vulnerable, like they can make mistakes, that they can be honest about their shortcomings. And then if you don't have that, then you're never going to get to the level where you have results. And he says, I think it's like page 218 of the book, one of the last things he says, which I think he should have put in the very beginning. So the book is a fable, right? It's telling the story of Decision Tech, which is a startup. And in a startup, you have to have results, right?
Yes.
Like, you're starting with nothing. You've got some venture capital, and you have to make stuff happen. But there are lots of organizations that are not in that state at all. And if you're not in a position where you have to achieve results right now, then why would you even worry about the teamwork thing, right?
Right.
You might be inherently interested in it. You might know that that's the only way you'll stay relevant. But it's not a need right now, right?
That's why it's the saying, like, I don't know if Jim Collins came up with it, but the enemy of great isn't bad. The enemy of great is good. Yeah. Because if you're good enough, you become complacent. You start to become risk averse maybe, or just lazy or lax or whatever. And yeah, like you said, if there's no survival need, it's easy for people to just fall into good and never achieve greatness. And yeah, there are a lot of organizations like I mean, one huge example would be government, right? If you're a government agency, you're never going to go under, right? If you just start costing the taxpayer more and more and more, it's like that they're just going to keep throwing more money into it, right? You're not going anywhere. You don't have to have any results. You don't have to solve the problem your agency or whatever was created to solve. In fact, there's incentive to perpetuate the problem so that your job never goes away. And then, yeah, even in the private sector, you have companies that are established, large, widely recognized as being a major industry player. And yeah, that's how startups come in and disrupt, right? Is because you get large, slow moving behemoth companies that are complacent. And so a small company is able to come in and basically steal part of the market from them.
Yep.
So
Sears and Kmart and Blockbuster, right. Kodak, right?
Yeah. I would say that they were probably just kind of complacent with their market dominance in how things were at the time, and they weren't ready for the next thing. They weren't worried about it. They were okay with being good.
Steve tells me that there is a phrase at Amazon, which is every day is day one, meaning we're going to act like today is the first day of our startup, right? So if we really had to scramble to become profitable, what would we be doing today? So they try to stay in that mode all of the time instead of the fat, contented house cat.
Yeah. I wonder how well that works. I mean, Amazon's clearly doing well. I buy a lot of stuff from them.
Me too.
So,
in the orientation at Cricket, so it seems like they have a good handle on we could fail, we could fold, because they were almost there once in 2012. Yeah. But they seem to remember that. He said, I think at least twice in the orientation, that it's possible that we could mess this all up. We're trying hard not to, which I think it's a really good thing to admit that people are thinking about how this could go wrong and how they're going to stay relevant.
Yeah.
So if you're not thinking about that, then there's no need to worry about leadership, right? Because we're fine and we'll keep doing fine.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting, though, thinking about, what Cricket does. I would classify it as like the product that it provides is like a total luxury for a highly developed and wealthy society. Like if the economy is going to go in a bad direction, the insurance industry, for example, probably isn't going to go away. Anything that has to do with that's closer to the foundations of society is going to be more stable.
Yeah.
Something that's more of like a luxury art product is going to be in trouble. Anything that has to do with things like entertainment are usually they usually don't develop in societies that aren't highly developed, like economically developed. And in a downturn, they're going to be the first to go, right? And so that puts Cricket in probably in a mindset where you can never feel too stable, right? You can never feel too safe.
Because it's business to consumer.
Yeah.
To a large degree.
Yeah. Business to consumer, and it's a total like entertainment luxury product. So it's not like gasoline, where you're always going to need that, right?
Or milk, or Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
Toilet paper.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Car insurance.
Yeah.
Or cars.
Yeah, and anything that you need for the society to function is going to be a lot more stable, less risky than a luxury item.
Yeah, so the closer you are to that thing that's an absolute necessity, right? And the bigger you are, then the less you have to worry. Or I guess the longer you have
Right.
before you got to worry, right?
Yeah. Like in an apocalypse, no one's going to be making video games, right? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. And they're probably also not making 3D printers or, unless those 3D printers can print practical survival things, right? So yeah, unless Cricut products could do something practical for survival, they wouldn't be useful at all. So
yeah, they have to worry about that.
So that probably does help them stay out of the complacent zone, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Interesting to think about. Restaurants too, even though they serve food, like what they're providing is somebody else making food for you, and that's why they're more. I think they're more of a luxury business too.
Well, and there's so much competition.
Yeah,
It's so easy to enter, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, you can't be complacent running a restaurant either.
Yeah. Yeah, they're constantly coming and going. So I didn't tell you. I don't think I told you my crazy story about when I went to the comedy show with Kenneth Boo. Did I tell you? I haven't talked to you much since
you had
we
to
went,
put
right?
your piece in the wheel.
Yeah, dude.
Was that it? Yeah.
Dude, I told you that already?
Well, not in the podcast. So we talked about it at Taqueria 27 after.
Wait, no, because we went there. We went there before we went to the show. So I must have told you. We went to Angry Korean. Is that when I told you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Angry
okay.
Korean. That's when you told me
Yeah,
the story.
when we were there with Chris. Yeah, so all right, we'll talk about it for the podcast then real quick. I'll retell the story. So we go to me and Kenneth Boo, the guest in the previous podcast, we go to see Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan at USANA Amphitheater in Salt Lake. And so we went pretty much straight there after we were eating at a taco. Well, kind of. I guess we did make 2 stops on the way. But we left that taco place probably,
It was 5.
It was 5?
Uh-huh.
It was that late? Okay.
Yeah.
So we left that at 5, and then we went to Kenneth's new work building, WCF Insurance, and he gave me a tour. While we're on this subject, there are a few interesting things I wanted to bring up. One thing that I thought was super weird, okay, is they have conference rooms all over the place. And they have white paint on the walls, and people just use the walls as like a whiteboard. And the dry erase stuff doesn't completely wipe off from those. And so like you just have like color smears all over like all the walls. I was like, dude, why don't you just get a whiteboard and then you don't have to like clean or repaint the walls every other year or
Use
something.
a pen, Sideshow Bob.
Exactly. I was like, what? I guess everyone does things
weird.
differently, but I mean, yeah, that was odd. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was, so they have a room that's like full of free soda, but no snacks. And I was telling Kenny, like, that's kind of cool, but I prefer the food rather than the drink, because you can always drink water for free. So you're never going to have to go thirsty at work. Mm-hmm. But there's no free substitute for food that you can just get anywhere. And so, like, I'd rather have the snacks than the soda. But I guess it really depends on what your preferences are. Some people, they always have enough food, and they are constantly drinking soda at work, so they like that more. So that was, another thing that I thought was interesting. And then they had like a vending machine area that also sold soda, which I thought was weird. Like, okay, so you can get free soda in this room. Why would you ever have a vending machine that sells soda? I mean, they had a variety, so I guess like if you really want that Mountain Dew Baja Blast or whatever, you can't get it in they don't have it for free in the break room. But so they also had they had a gym. They had I think a 6-story building. it was not bad. It reminded me of our old building because it was narrower and tall. It had the higher cube walls. Looked like it was, a little bit older than the Exactware building. So it was all right. I think overall, though, Exactware's building is a little bit better. Especially those conference room walls, man. I thought they were super tacky. Anyway, so we go and we have this tour of WCF Insurance. And then after that, Kenny wanted to take me to this vegan place called the Vegan Bowl. I was barely able to eat anything because we had just been in a taco place like 2 hours before that. So, and less than that, I guess, if we left at 5.
Did he eat very much?
Oh, yeah, he ate the whole, Kenny he's a big eater, man.
He's not a man. He's an eating machine.
Exactly. A remorseless eating machine. And so we go there, and then we left there probably like at 6:45. And we get to the area where the USANA Amphitheater is around 7. And the show starts at 7:30. But it took us more than an hour to get parked, which is crazy, man. I thought they needed way more lanes in and out of that place. Just an hour to park when you get there half an hour early.
Yeah, that's poor design.
That's ridiculous, So anyway,
maybe they're trying to punish motorists.
They could be, but I mean, there were some people who parked like far away, like probably in residential areas, and walked. It was a long walk, It was, I don't even know how long it took those people to walk in, but they probably walked for like 30 minutes from where they were parked, because there's like a huge area that it encompasses, I guess, like the parking lot and everything like around the amphitheater itself. And so you probably had to park like at least a 15-20 minute walk away if you got something close. And so, yeah, I don't know that those people got there any sooner. And they did have a place for like Uber and Lyft and whatever, like drop off and pick up. But like the problem was getting there, like unless you had your Uber drop you off, a 20-minute walk away, then what are you going to do, right? They can't just drive you up and drop you off, or drive up and pick you up and go. Like, they still have to get through the traffic to get you there and to get to you. So anyway, we get there, and before we went, I looked up online, and some people were like, oh yeah, I was at a concert there, before. Like, they don't check for anything. They don't check for, they don't check your bags or pat down or metal detector or anything, so it's just fine. So I'm like, okay. So I go, and we get in, we show our tickets and get in, and then, like, there's this big line, and the first thing they do is they're like, here are these, like, Faraday cage pouches that you have to put your phone in so you can't record or anything. And then, so we do that, and then after that, we go into another line, and then they actually have metal detectors and stuff. And so at this point, I'm like, shoot, I'm still carrying a knife and a pistol. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back to the car, and I'm going to put those away. So I turn around, and there's this big sign that says no re-entry after exiting. And so I'm like, shoot, what do I do? So we go and talk to the security guard. I'm like, hey, bro, I've got prohibited items on me, but it says no re-entry. How can I get those to my car? And so he signs the back of my ticket, and he's like, just show my signature to the people at the gate, and they'll let you back in, and I'll escort you out. So he escorts me out, and then as soon as I get out, like, I'm walking towards the car, and I realize that it's Kenny's car, and he has the keys. And I'm like, okay, I'll call him, except his phone is in a Faraday cage pouch. And so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, he went to go sit down. He might be able to get back out, but he's already gone in the next step past the metal detectors. I don't know if he can get out from there. I don't know if he's even realized that he has the keys. And so they're not going to let me in to get to him, right? And so unless he comes back out, I'm screwed. And there's a good chance that he's not even thinking about it. He went in, he's listening to the show. So I'm like, what do I do? Okay, I can hide it. So I'm walking over to his car and I'm thinking, okay, what are my options? Okay, the parking lot is gravel, so I could put it underneath the car and like cover it with gravel, or I could put it in the wheel well. That might be too easy to see from the right angle. We were also kind of parked nearby a field. I'm like, I don't really want to put it in the field. I'm like, what do I do? And then I get to the car. I'm like, okay, I can't stand around his car for too long without being able to open it because then it looks suspicious. So I'm like, all right, I got to make a quick decision here. And so I took my pocket knife first and put it on his wheel well as far back as I could. And I was like kind of looking around, and it was dark and shaded, enough that I couldn't really see it. Like, all right, I guess we're doing this. And so I also put my pistol back in there on top of his rear passenger tire. And I just kind of walked around a little bit to make sure like it wasn't really visible. And then I went back in. And like the whole time I was just wondering, like, man, was somebody watching me? Did somebody see me do that? If we don't get back out fast enough, is someone else going to see it? Because the thing is part of the camouflage is that you can't get a good view in the wheel well because you're parked next to another car, right? So if that car leaves, then it becomes a lot more visible, right? Like a lot more likely that somebody will see it. So the whole time I'm like, man, we got to get back fast. I hope it's still there when we get out. It was kind of nerve-wracking, but it was still there when we got out, so that's my story, Jordan.
Tim lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
I felt pistol and his knife.
I felt pretty ridiculous doing it. I don't know. I still don't know if there was a better way to handle that, though. I mean, obviously the best thing would have been to remember to get the keys from Kenny first. But after having failed to do so, and that option was off the table, like what could I have done that was better or smarter? I don't know. I don't know that there was anything.
I don't either. Maybe someone that knows cars really well.
I thought about maybe if I could pop his hood, that I could put it in there, but you have to release the latch from inside the car. So, yeah.
You probably done the best you could have.
I mean, it worked, so that's good.
Yeah.
Would have been sad if it didn't. But the show, Jordan, was great.
Yeah.
It was great. The first few people, so it's kind of like a concert where they have, bands you've never heard of that play first.
Right.
And then, the band you came to see plays last. And so, yeah, while we were trying to park, we missed like the whole first act. And then during this whole time when I was going back and, going in and then going back out to hide my gun and coming back in, and then finding Kenny and sitting down, I basically missed the second one. I mean, you can kind of hear because it's really loud, so I kind of heard it anyway. And so I caught all of the third guy, and then after him was Joe Rogan, who was amazing, and then Dave Chappelle, who was also really, really good. But yeah, the first three didn't seem that great, so I didn't really care about missing the first two, and the third guy was only kind of meh. But man, it was a great show, though. I liked it.
Good.
You should have been there, Jordan.
I should have been there.
Probably wasn't your scene, though. It's honestly, it really isn't my scene either. I like Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle, but like they're both pretty vulgar, and like there are tons of people in the crowd smoking weed the whole time. So they managed to get past the security, right? Because they also had prohibited items, but their prohibited items don't get caught by a metal detector, though. So
I guess not.
So yeah. It was good though. I had a good time.
So does Kenneth follow Joe Rogan or Dave Chappelle?
Know.
How did he find out about the show?
I have no idea.
And why did he decide that he wanted to buy tickets?
I don't know.
Or is that Kenneth's normal jam?
I think so. I mean, I think something he does a lot is he'll find a show or something that he thinks is interesting, and he'll buy more than one ticket, and then he'll try to find a date to take. I think that's what he does. Because I think it's either this weekend or last weekend or something. He went. Where did he go? Or maybe he hasn't gone yet. To something in Park City. I don't remember if it was a concert or a show or something. But yeah, he does that kind of stuff a lot. He's single dude going to a singles ward, living in Provo, where there's kind of like a lot of stuff for people like that to do, I guess. And so I think he's pretty active on the weekends, like, going to shows or museums or concerts or whatever, I think.
Did you rewatch Gladiator?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't.
Oh, were you planning to?
I don't know.
I was just asking out of curiosity.
I mean, I've already seen it before, but I don't know. I mean, it's a good movie, but like, I don't know. I don't watch a lot of movies. Maybe I will. Did I say I would last time in the podcast?
No, you didn't.
Good. I didn't make a commitment.
No, you didn't. I was just wondering if Kenneth's review would inspire you to go and watch it again.
No. Speaking of, though, I'm going to see a movie with Kenneth on Monday.
What is it?
I don't know if we told you about it, but it's the final cut of Apocalypse Now.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned it last time.
Yeah.
Is that an amazing film?
I have never seen it.
Okay.
Which, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's weird, but I've never seen it. So this will be my first time seeing it, and it'll be the final cut, the definitive one, Jordan. Oh, so I didn't have to waste my time with lesser cuts.
Yeah, that's efficient.
Going straight to the final one.
Who's the director?
I don't know.
All right.
I know very little about this movie. I'm showing my ignorance to the world on this podcast, Jordan.
All right.
About this movie, because I don't know. I don't know who made it. I don't even know what it's about. All I know is that it's about the Vietnam War. That's it.
Yeah.
I guess Vietnam conflict would be more accurate. But yeah, so that's the extent of my knowledge, and then we're going to see it. Here's an interesting story. Okay, so I think it was Thursday. Yeah, probably Thursday, that I say to Kenny, I'm like, okay, we should get tickets ahead of time because we don't want to show up, plan to go, and then we get there and they're like, sorry, it's sold out, or sorry, the only seats that are left are in the front. That's and they suck. And so I say, okay, we better buy tickets in advance. So I go to the website for Megaplex, and it's like, okay, this one day, this one time, this one theater, that's it. That's all it's playing. I'm like, dude, we better buy our tickets now. Hopefully there's some left. And I go, look, completely empty. So we can get whatever seats we want. Nobody's bought a single ticket, okay? So I go and I buy 3 of them because Tui from Exact Analysis, she's coming with us too. So me, Kenneth, and Tui. So we've got 3 tickets. And I was talking to Chris. Actually, no, I must have bought them earlier in the week. It's probably more like Monday or Tuesday. It's because I was talking to Chris yesterday, and I asked him if he wanted to come. I'm like, let's see if there are any tickets left. And I go look, still the only 3 that were bought are the ones that I bought earlier in the week. I'm like, dude, the movie's playing on Monday. Like, it's only in a few days. And still the only tickets they've sold are the ones that I purchased. I guess it's not as big of a deal. I mean, maybe other people have seen all the other cuts and they don't need to see the final cut, Jordan. I don't know. But I thought it was unexpected. I thought that for sure only a few days away that there would have been activity,
Yeah. I guess Utah's just not an Apocalypse Now state.
Maybe not. But yeah, I mean, it's 40th anniversary in theaters, final cut. I've never seen it. Sure, why not? I'll go. I guess nobody else cares, but that's fine.
Well, in a future episode, you can tell us if they should care or not.
Yeah, I guess I can.
Yeah. But I don't know if if it's gonna be that big of a deal though. I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be interesting if we go and we're the only three in the theater. You know, that would be kind of. I think that'd be even more shocking. I think if we went and there were only three of us in the theater. I thought it was a popular movie when it came out. At least it came out in '79.
It probably was when it came out before I was born.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. 3 years before we were born. So
there were only so many movies to watch in
it's
1979.
true. It's true. But yeah, it's long. I think it's like 3 hours and 20 minutes, the final cut. Chris was telling me that they filmed like tons and tons of footage. Like, just, if footage is the right word, tons of content. They just have like, they probably have enough to make it twice as long or more. I don't know if that's standard for movies. I'm sure they always film more than they use, but I don't know by what degree or what percent. But
Have you finished Dichotomy of Leadership?
I haven't. I think I've only got like one chapter left though. Man, I have not had any time to read at work. I should just read at home. But yeah.
What are your gaming buddies playing nowadays?
Monster Hunter World still. I don't know if I talked about that before.
Insect Glaive, that's your weapon.
Yeah,
But
you remember.
Are you playing with Tyler?
Sometimes. He doesn't play very much. I thought he played more than he does.
Yeah, I knew he didn't play very much. We were talking about it when the game came out. You know, if he should buy it when it was new or just wait.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew he wouldn't be able to commit the time that his old Monster Hunter buddies would expect him to put in. Didn't want to disappoint him.
Yeah. I haven't seen him play with anybody else, though. But it's good. I like it. It's a good game. I've tried a couple other weapons out. I still kind of suck with them, though. But I've tried the Charge Blade, both the heavy and light bow gun. But, yeah. Insect Glaive is still the one that I can play well, I guess. You should join us, Jordan. Buy a gaming machine.
I wouldn't even have the time if I had the desire.
That's too bad.
Our thing lately, so since I joined cricket and they sent me those machines, my kids always want to make t-shirts.
Dude, that's what I'd be doing too, man.
Well, that was another nice thing about the first day. So they did product training as part of the orientation. So the training itself wasn't particularly interesting. I kind of already knew how to use the cutting machine and the Easy Press. But they gave us a tumbler, and we could make any sticker that we wanted to put on our tumbler. So I made a label that it was Polyjuice Potion.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was like this green holographic sticker stuff that I put on there. So that was fun, right? It's a little creative project. And then they had a bunch of decals that we could iron onto shirts as well. My wife really likes sloths, so I made her a sloth t-shirt.
Nice.
So that's cool, right? Like making stuff your first day on the job. You can't do that most companies.
Right. Yeah.
But I thought it was a good way to end, right? Doing something creative.
I'm always kind of jealous of people who work in tech but for hardware companies, because then you get stuff, you know? I mean, maybe if you work on software that you would actually use in your own life, there's some benefit to them, obviously.
We
to
could
that
probably
too.
get a discount on Xactimate licenses.
Probably not. I don't know. But the thing is, though, is
Sure.
I would never need, anything. So
Yeah.
I think that...
You never thought about going out during a storm season too?
No.
Scooping up some extra money?
No, I haven't. And so, yeah, like I see people work at like a home automation company or you know, like you are with I don't, what would you even call it? The cutting and decal pressing
Crafting tools. Yeah,
right?
that's their space.
Yeah, like
Right now it's just cutting and pressing. I mean, they have other stuff too, like their own branded paper cutter and other little auxiliary tools. But
yeah,
that's what the main thing is.
stuff like that. You know, I see people work for companies like that and get hooked up with things that I would actually be interested in. You know, like people who work for Samsung, say, and get like a nice monitor or get RAM or get, well, you know, whatever, like, or people who work for home automation, like Henry, he works for Control 4. You know, they've got all the stuff for like smart sprinklers, smart lighting, smart blinds, smart whatever, you know, like thermostat. Did I say thermostat already? You know, all the stuff that I think would be cool to have in a home. And so working there, he gets, you know, benefits, you know, he gets hookups with like that kind of stuff. So I don't really get anything from Exactwear that we make, you know, that we work on.
Right. Just hats and shirts.
Yeah.
Whatever they give out during benefits enrollment.
Yeah, I kind of wish they did a little bit more like swag type stuff, you know? Because they don't do a lot of that. And like the only stuff I've seen them do lately, I mean, there's always the, like, you know, the summer party shirt and...
I can make you Exactwear swag.
Yeah.
I have the technology.
Nice.
I can build it.
You do. But yeah, like, for example, they give these nice, like, tumblers, for example. They give these nice tumblers to, what was it, people who do the golf tournament. So you got to do the golf tournament to get one of those.
You should try golf, Tim. It's fun.
I have. I did it once. I did the tournament once.
Did you have a golf cart?
Yes.
Did you get to drive it?
Yes.
That was fun,
that was probably more
right?
fun than hitting the ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to be good at golf to enjoy golfing.
Yeah, driving around in the
Just
golf
have fun
cart.
on your cart.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I sucked at golf, man. Sucked, Jordan.
You just need to change the rules. Speed golf would be fun, right?
Maybe.
Whoever finishes fastest, doesn't matter how many strokes.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like polo at that point. I mean, the most efficient would be to stay in your cart and hit
Right.
the ball, right?
Yeah. Mounted combat, yeah. Just take a swipe, like you drive and somebody swipes the ball as you drive past.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. I'd be down for that.
Golf clubs are a little too dry for that, though. I don't think they could enjoy that sport.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, they even have rules that say, like, you have to wear shorts. Like, really? Like, you have to wear shorts and you have to wear a collared shirt? You know, like,
Is this Thanksgiving point?
A dress code? Yeah. It's like, really? You have to look like a golfer to golf? Like,
yeah, that is a little odd there, because that's not a ritzy neighborhood, you know, over by Thanksgiving Point.
Yeah.
Are there any super nice houses over there? It seems like they're all smaller houses packed really closely together.
I don't know.
Thanksgiving Point itself, right? Like the gardens and all that, it's real nice.
Yeah.
But I don't expect a dress code like that, you know, at a golf club near some gated community.
Mm-hmm.
Not West Lehigh.
Yeah. I just thought it was weird, though. Like, you can't wear a t-shirt when you golf. Like, all right.
That's a bit odd.
Yeah. Pretentious bastards.
You hear that, Thanksgiving Point Golf Course? So I've golfed in Hobble Creek Canyon and the East Bay in Provo, and I don't know if I've golfed anywhere else. Little executive course in New Mexico. None of them had a dress code.
Are you good at golf?
No.
No?
Not good. Got rid of my clubs years ago.
What about miniature golf?
Not good at that either.
Yeah, me neither. It's fun, though. I like miniature golf.
Do you?
I think I like it more than real golf. except for the driving the golf cart part. I like driving the golf cart. Miniature golf is cool because there's not a ton of walking and they have a lot of neat obstacles and puzzles. You know what I mean? Like it feels more like overcoming a challenge rather than just hitting well. You know?
I see.
Plus, I'm a I don't know. I just I like the movie Happy Gilmore.
It's Adam Sandler's finest hour.
It was for sure, and I love the part in that movie when they go to the miniature golf course to train. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, so I don't know. I think miniature golf feels more like a game, and golf feels more like a sport. And I'm more into games than sports.
So, is e-sport a game or a sport?
Probably more of a game. I would say, I don't know, it kind of...
I'm sure they picked the name for branding purposes, right? Games do not attract advertiser dollars, but sports, oh yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Esports are more interesting than normal sports. I'd rather watch people play StarCraft than basketball. What about you?
Well, I don't know. I know watching, what is that match? What's the name of it? EVO, I think, is the big Street Fighter tournament held in Vegas. And one of them, this entrant named Daigo, I don't know if that's his real name or his Street Fighter handle. He was playing Ken, and he was just about knocked out, and his opponent used some Chun-Li ultra attack, and he parried every hit of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome to watch.
That is, yeah.
But I played Street Fighter 3. I don't know if it would be impressive if I hadn't played it. Because I could parry in Street Fighter 3, but to parry that many, that was amazing. That was amazing. So that was compelling to watch. I don't know that I've ever been that highly entertained watching someone else play a game before. Nothing's coming to mind. I know my brother and I struggle to take turns. You know, one-player games we played as kids.
Yeah, that's how it used to be for me too.
We wanted to finish Phantasy Star 4 for the Sega Genesis, and we knew that if we were both playing our separate save files, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So we just relay raced the thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch him playing, and I don't think he watched me play either.
Really?
Yeah.
For me,
it wasn't interesting enough.
For me, I would always rather watch somebody play than do anything else, you know?
Yeah.
So when it wasn't my turn, I was watching my brothers play. I guess that's how into video games I am.
I guess so. You're a true believer. So my younger sons really like to watch my older son play. But it doesn't suck me in.
Yeah. My kids watch people play Minecraft on YouTube.
Are they doing interesting stuff? Like, how
Not
could you
really.
be compelled, unless someone made something super awesome and you didn't understand how they did
Right.
it?
So that's the thing. Like, I can see like guides or tutorials, right? Because the thing about Minecraft is because it's 3D, it's hard to demonstrate how to make something complicated without using a video.
Right.
And so I can see that, but they're usually watching stuff that I think is just kind of lame or boring. It's usually just like some dude who's like a personality, just like playing with his friends and like laughing and doing weird stuff. But I mean, I've already set it up in the past for us to be able to play on a server that's loaded up with awesome mods, and I've done stuff like only my daughter really has played with me on that. I mean, my sons have a little bit, but I don't think they've been as interested. But I mean, we did a lot of interesting things. Like we raised our tech level enough to have jetpacks and like hang gliders and stuff so we can fly around the map. We built machines. Our big project was we made a whole machine setup that automatically produced premium hamburgers, Jordan. Premium hamburgers.
A hamburger machine?
Yes. And so, like, for example, we had cows. And those cows were in a corral. And the corral was split into two. One side had baby cows, one side had adult cows. And on the adult cow side, we had an auto feeder that would automatically feed the adults. And then they would have baby cows. And then we had a separator that automatically pulled the baby cows into the other side. And then when those baby cows mature, they automatically get slaughtered by an automatic harvester thing. I can't remember what it was called. And so you constantly, because you separate them, you constantly have a population of adults that's producing babies with the auto feeder. And then the babies automatically get harvested when they mature.
Highly efficient.
Yes. And so the kind of meat
Cattle
industry,
country.
the kind of meat industry that you can get behind, Jordan, right?
Could you walk across the backs of the cattle?
Not quite, but almost. So when the babies graduate from Bovine University, basically we would take, so we had machines that were automatically piping their leather to one direction and then like their meat to another. And then, the adults were also automatically getting milked by a machine that would automatically milk. So the milk would go then to a machine that automatically made it into cheese, which required salt. So we also had a machine in the ocean pulling salt out of the water. And that required cloths. We also had to have another like corral of sheep that was being sheared all the time, and an auto crafter crafting the wool into string, and then the string into filter cloth. And then the filter cloth was sent to the filter, and then the filter would, separate the water from the salt. And so it'd combine the salt with the milk to make cheese. So we had beef and cheese. Then we also had like auto farms that were creating like lettuce and tomato and wheat because we needed the wheat for the bun. So we had this it took up a ton of space because we had to make like all the wheat for the buns, the lettuce and the tomato, and we also needed tomatoes for ketchup in addition to the topping. Then we needed cucumbers, and we also needed grapes to make vinegar so that we could use vinegar and salt. And we also needed sugar, I think, in order to make pickles. And so we were making pickles, lettuce, tomato, beef that was then sent to a grinder. And then, we also had an auto baker that was baking the wheat into buns. And then the cheese, and then all of those would finally get assembled into burgers at the end location. And so once we finished it, we basically pulled the lever, and then when all the stuff, we could see all the ingredients just growing or being harvested or going through these pneumatic pipes to all the different locations and getting crafted or cooked or whatever, and then moving to the next location, this big assembly line. And then finally we had this storage unit thing that was accepting all the finished burgers. And so we just watched the machine go, and it just started crafting thousands of burgers, Jordan.
What did you do with all the burgers?
Nothing yet. We ate some of them, but what do you do with thousands of burgers in Minecraft when you only have to eat one every
you gotta
20
craft
minutes?
them into something else.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else you can do with them once they're a burger, but.
Time to write your own mod so you can craft stuff out of gourmet burgers.
Armor and weapons.
Or fat lackeys.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of a couple. No, just one. I guess it was from one YouTuber, Dan TDM. You heard of him?
Nope.
So he streams himself playing games. It's mostly footage of the games, but he cuts it to make it more interesting, right?
Yeah.
And the reason that was interesting is he's just playing some fun games. So one of them is this game where you're like a pool attendant at some resort, and you have to keep the guests from catching on fire, which is fun. If they get too hot, they catch on fire.
Okay.
And they'll start running around and set other guests on fire. So your job, you put up umbrellas, you put sunblock on them, you spray them with a super soaker, you towel whip them into the pool. You have all of these goals, right? And that's the whole game. And the thing that makes it compelling, right, is that you're doing this crazy micromanaging thing and they'll catch on fire. It's just a compelling concept. He's playing this other one, which was like, people have made these super hard. They're kind of parodies of the old Nintendo games where you could die in any way.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it. It was like some kind of a Pitfall clone. Just watching all of the crazy ways that he would get killed in that game. So, and that's what made it interesting, right? It wasn't necessarily that him playing him.
Yeah, that becomes more like almost like a video game review, though. Yeah, I like those kinds of videos where they.
But he doesn't review. I
Yeah.
mean, I think he'd say if he liked it or not. But I think he gave maybe 10 or 15 minutes per game.
Yeah.
And he would cut it so it would be interesting.
But
I guess I've watched some Mario Maker videos too.
okay.
But just for interesting levels, right? So I guess if you played any level of any degree of Mario, then that'd be interesting to you.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think when they make videos with highlights and stuff, it becomes like a showcase of the game, and I think that's interesting. I don't know if I'd really watch somebody just like play through a game. Like there are a lot of videos where it's like, let's play Final Fantasy, and it'll be like 40 hours worth of videos as they go through and like everything and beat it, and Adrian, I don't know if you remember Adrian in Exact Analysis. He likes to watch those instead of playing the games. Then he's like, oh, I can cross it off the list. I just watched this guy beat Final Fantasy whatever, so I can just check it off. I don't have to play it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Maybe I'm a control freak. That's why I don't like to watch people play.
Yeah.
I should be at the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, you want to do things your way, make your own decisions, build your characters. Yeah. So, those have never really appealed to me, and I have never gotten into those.
But esports, so how long does it take to watch a match?
Depends. If you're talking something like League of Legends, it's probably around 30 minutes, I would say. 30 to 40 per game.
Is it mostly people watching live, or is it after the fact you'll stream the thing
It's
and
both.
you'll watch how they do stuff, and you might loop a chunk of the video like 3 or 4
So-
times to figure something out?
Here's the thing. It depends on the game. So, the games that have a system where you can control the camera while you're watching people play are the best for analysis. So, for example, League of Legends, they don't have like a spectator system, which means that when you're watching a stream, all you can see is what like I don't know if it's like I think it's controlled and maybe it kind of bounces around on its own a little bit, but you're watching like one view. So, for example, if there's a character that you're interested in learning how to play or learning how to play against, the camera is probably only on them like 20% of the time, because it's kind of bouncing around where the action is. And so you don't get very much footage of what you want to see. You're just being shown certain parts of the game. That's all you can see. But then you have, I think this is how Dota 2 works. In Dota 2, everybody connects to the game from within their own game, and can watch it, and you can watch the action in your own way. So everything's happening, and you can kind of choose where you're looking. So if you're like, I really like this guy, and I want to watch what he does, you can watch him from his perspective the entire game. And then you can also I think you can save it as like a replay or whatever, and then just watch it as much as you want. So you can say like, yeah, here's a good example of how to play against that character when you're playing as this character. And then you can watch that entire game from that person's perspective. Whereas I don't know about StarCraft. I think you might only get the camera view that is being shown to you as well. So it probably depends on the game, because some games let you just connect directly and watch from your own machine, and others you're just watching a video that's being streamed to you, and so you have no control over what you're looking at. But yeah, a lot of people watch them live. A lot of people, if you don't have, like, they'll play a tournament in like Korea, the time zone's off, so maybe the game was at 3 a.m, so you'll just watch it later on in the day, not live. So, and they have systems on their websites that hide who won, so that you don't get spoiled, I guess, if you care about that. But yeah, a lot of people watch. I don't really watch much, but I used to watch some when I used to play League of Legends. I watched some of the tournaments. They're kind of interesting, but I think the biggest problem I had was I would want to see the people playing the characters that I play, but then, like I said, you can't control the camera or anything, so you hardly see anything. It would have been much more interesting to me to say, hey, this guy picked the character I play. I want to watch him. I want to watch a pro use him for the entire game, the entire match, and see what he does. See all the fine details of how he positions himself, what skills he uses, which skills he levels first, how he interacts with the opponent in his lane, that sort of thing. But you don't get enough detail like that. Unless they've changed their client. I mean, I haven't played in years, so it was a big thing that people were asking for a long time. So maybe they did it. I don't know. You hungry?
Yeah. We should eat.
We should. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up, Jordan? Anything else you wanted to mention? I don't think there's anything from my end.
No. No, I don't think I have anything.
All right.
I think that's all I have to say about that.
You said it all, man. You said it all.
Until next time.
Yeah, we'll catch you in episode 8, and we'll try to have a guest next time. So all you people who have been asking to be a guest and you've refused, this is on you.
Yeah.
This is on you.
Just write a short postcard to be a guest on the Timbo Slice podcast sweepstakes.
That's right. So until next time, folks, goodbye.